Welcome to Talks with Tracy, with certified hypnotherapist, life coach, and licensed mental health professional, Tracy Claremont. Tracy will share her healing journey and explore the many meaningful alternative healing methods in our world today that will support you in doing your own deepest emotional healing. So please welcome the host of Talks with Tracy, Tracy Claremont. Let the suffering end and the healing begin.
Hello and welcome to Talks with Tracy. I'm your host, Tracy Claremont, coming to you live on the Bold Brave Television Network. Thank you all for joining me today. I appreciate every single one of you who takes the time to listen, and I'm sending love your way. And thank you, Bold Brave Television Network. I'm sending love your way too for having me on. I appreciate it. So it's almost Valentine's Day, and I'm excited about that. You know what that means? That love is in the air. Or is it really? I really want to know, like, is there really love in the air? I know it's an expression, but does it really happen? And if it is, why aren't we all just madly in love with the person of our dreams? Well, I kind of am madly in love with the person of my dreams. I have a really great relationship with my husband, but let me tell you, it took some work to get to this relationship that I have now. I had some doozies before, and lots of learning that took place in those relationships, lots of growth, lots of healing and whatnot to get to where I am today. So how do we attract love? How do we put out love energy? What is love energy anyway? I'm full of questions today, and thankfully, I have my dear friend Suzy Woo back today to help answer these questions for us. She's an expert on the topic of energy, and she talks all the time about, boosting our personal energy and strengthening our auras and clearing out energies that don't serve us. And it stands to reason, in my mind anyway, that those are ways that we can get to this place of finding love. That's like a pathway to finding love. So yeah, she's truly amazing and has so much information. I just love talking talking to her and learning from her. So if you've watched the past several episodes of Talks with Tracy, you'll already be familiar with Suzy Woo. She's been kind enough to join me and talk about several different topics already. But just as a refresher, the amazing Suzy Woo, she is an astrologer, she is a psychic medium, a spiritual healer, an international speaker, all of these things, so much more. She offers so many services, and I noticed in her list of services, she offers compatibility readings for couples. Now, if I understand that correctly, that is where she takes the astrological charts of each person in a couple and uses that information to identify areas of relationship strengths and weaknesses, to help a couple out and to kind of show them the reasons why they came together, and talk about different areas of growth that could happen. So also she's offering this great February special I noticed on her website, where she provides a deep energy healing experience combined with sound and crystal immersion for two. My gosh, that sounds like so much fun. I totally want to do that with my husband. Anyway, I can't wait to try these different services out. I get all excited about this stuff, and it's so much fun. So I've received really incredible psychic readings and astrological chart readings from her already, and I can't wait to try out other things. Anyway, so let's bring her on and get this talk started. Please join me in welcoming back the amazing and beautiful Suzy Woo.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Beautiful
Suzy.
to be there. Yay.
Yes. Thank you for joining me today. I so appreciate you coming on the show, and I also noticed that in preparing for the show today, I felt so relaxed. And usually I'm a little bit a little bit tense, and I just feel so comfortable talking with you about all these things that I was like, oh, yeah, we're going to do a show. I'm so excited. So thank you again for joining me. I kind of opened with this question of, or this statement. It's a phrase, love is in the air. But I really want to know, like, is that really a thing? Is love really in the air? Or can it be? Right? And I really want to get into this talking about how we attract positive love energy to us. So I thought you would be a great person to pose those questions to. What do you think about
Awesome.
that? Is love really in the air?
Well, um, so there are certain times in our lives where we are more aligned to new relationships or ending of relationships or troublesome things that need to surface. And that's in an individual's astrology chart that we can track
Mm,
these things. So I'll get a lot of clients who are like, when am I going to find my person? But now we're already
mm-hmm.
getting into the meat and potatoes of it. When somebody is saying, where is my other half? I need my other half to complete me. You are affirming that you are indeed a half person. And so what's going to happen is
Oh.
you're going to attract somebody else that is a half person. And that's going to create codependency. It's going to create trauma bonds. And what I encourage everyone to do is to just step down from that idea, because why do you want or need, or why do you feel that you need somebody so badly or so desperately to complete you? There's a hollow inside that we are chasing
Mm,
to fill. And the secret is you got to fill that with yourself, meaning self love, self compassion, self care, beyond just a mani petty. What it really means is when I'm tired, I'm going to allow myself to rest and not push harder. It means that I'm going to look in the mirror and I'm going to learn to love what I see looking back at me.
mm.
Most of us are broken when it comes to that.
Right.
And when
I
we
have
can,
actually, could I say so? I have actually been kind of posing that challenge to clients and that I'm working with lately about looking in the mirror and just smiling at themselves, right? I've
yeah,
like given them homework. Okay, every time you look in the mirror, just smile at yourself, because I can't really start, or I tried to start with look in the mirror and say I'm beautiful, I love myself, those things, and they're like, whoa, 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 no, 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 I can't do that. I can't do that. So I'm like, let's start with a smile. But I it really is amazing to me that so many people can't look in the mirror at themselves and really make a statement like that about themselves or to themselves.
yeah, that's like the first grain of sand to the whole beach. None of
Yeah.
us were raised to have that. I mean, it is kind of generalized, but in my practice, that's what I see, is that we've never been taught what it means to love who you are. Instead, we've been taught to spill all of your energy out to take care of everybody else in the world and always leave yourself on the back
Mhm.
burner, or else that's considered selfish. And it's
Mhm.
the opposite. Like, if you're only running on fumes, who are you to show up to help me? You have to be there for yourself first, and to look in the mirror and learn how to love who that is looking back at you. When you can get to that, that's when you're going to attract a healthy partner. Until then, you're going to attract broken partners, wounded partners. You're going to form trauma bonds. Um, I know that in my abusive marriage, my person said, you're on my other half. I'm nothing without you." And I think that's
Mhm.
very important, because every relationship that says that is not abusive per se, but every relationship that has that is creating and continuing to solidify a codependency. Like, it's not, there's nothing wrong with somebody saying, "Oh, well, they're my rock." Okay, I get that. That means they're your support. And is it
Mhm.
reciprocated, or are you always the
Mhm.
damsel in distress? And if so, then that's not reciprocal, healthy, and balanced. There needs to be a healthy balance, which you will never find in a relationship until you can fill your own void with
Mhm.
knowing, you know what, I am part of creation itself. So this is how. This is already the how. Knowing that you are creation itself, you cannot deny. We cannot tell ourselves untruths. When, if you, our listeners and watchers, go and look in your mirror and you actually stare into your own eyes, you're probably going to start crying because you're going to see your own pain. And that is your first indicator that there's plenty there available for healing. So instead of saying, oh, I suck or whatever it is, let those tears fall because water cleanses, water heals, and water is life. That's there to help you to see, where is my brokenness? Where am I
Mm-hmm.
disconnected from that source energy? Then it comes into your conscious mind, and then you can do something about it. It's very powerful. I know I'm sounding really simple, but this is very powerful stuff. What do you see when
Right.
you look in the mirror?
I agree. It does sound simple, but it is. Again, there's so many people who really have difficulty doing that. I know I made a commitment to myself years ago to smile at myself every time I looked in the mirror, whether I felt like smiling or not. And now it's a habit. My kids will see me smile at myself in the mirror, and I'll be like, "You need to do that too. Always smile at yourself," and tell yourself that you love yourself. And it does become. It may feel uncomfortable, awkward at first, but then it becomes a habit, and that's a really good habit to have because that reflection, it reflects back. It turns on those good chemicals in your brain and fills you up. It's a simple thing, but it's very uh, proactive,
It
in terms
is.
of loving yourself.
Yeah, but we can't lie to ourselves either
Right.
because there's a disharmony. And so if we truly feel unlovable, maybe we've been made to feel unwanted. These are deep things that are
Mm-hmm.
when it shows up, when we look and we have that cry, you want to
Mm-hmm.
be grateful. Like, oh, thank you, my higher self, for showing me that there's plenty available for healing. Because otherwise you can't do anything about it. If it's in your subconscious, you're functioning from that blind spot and looking for the outside world to heal you. And it's even though
Mm-hmm.
the outside world can support you, it's you who actually does the healing by your acceptance or rejecting of the information being offered. When you look in that
Right.
mirror, and if you've been called ugly, and you look in the mirror and you're told to say, I'm beautiful, okay, you're not there. That's disharmony. So we have to start with baby steps. And so for me, I'm pretty sure I said this on your show another time, because it's the safest and easiest thing that so far everybody is able to do. I am learning new ways of loving myself every day. I am
Hmm.
learning new ways of loving myself every day. And that's a nice, safe thing that all people can say without fail. And you don't want to say, I'm trying, because there's also hollow void energy. You're either doing something or you're not. I'm working. I'm working. I'm not working. I am going to the store or I'm not going to the store. There's no in between. There's got to be an action. And so when you look in that mirror and you realize you're a piece of creation, and would you talk to a little child in a way that is disharmonious? No. You were once that child. Why would you treat yourself any different? So let's
Mm-hmm.
circle back now. Let's circle back to love is in the air and finding our perfect partner. You have to be your perfect partner first. You have to learn how to become your best friend. And I'll tell you, this was really, really hard for me. It's the reason why I went back to my abusive partner, because they were the only one that understood me. It's because they were the cause of my problems. I mean, really, it's a manipulation game. But, but,
Mm-hmm.
but when you are lonely, you're going to resort to things that are unhealthy. Your comfort eat, comfort drink, escapism, going home with every guy at the bar to help yourself feel something rather than nothing, self harm, cutting, any of these things. Um, uh, it deepens that disconnect. And so being lonely is very dangerous. So you need some healthy tools. What can you do when you are feeling that desperation, that loneliness? Because we as a human race, we need to connect. There's got to be a sense of connection with other people. And those who have harmed us are not going to be the right people to support us. But that was why I left and came back and left and came back. And then finally stayed left, but that's only because I promised my kids I would never go back. Um,
Mm.
so you have to have a plan for yourself when you feel weakened, when you feel lonely, when you're feeling rejected, and when you're feeling disconnected. And a healthy tool, because I know you guys are waiting for it, journal, journal, speak into something. I am feeling the way that you're feeling. EFT, the emotional freedom technique, that's the tapping, it's the different points that you tap. Very wonderful and effective tool. You can look that up, emotional freedom technique. Other tools is if you have a friend confident to reach out to them. Sometimes we just need a sounding board. We don't always need advice. Sometimes we just need somebody that we need to be witnessed. We don't always need the advice. Just please witness me and my pain and hold space for me. So sometimes that person is going to be a friend, sometimes it's going to be a therapist. There's no shame. And I think that's starting to get a lot more accepted. It's great to have a therapist. It's great to have somebody that you can reach out to when you are feeling really isolated or depressed or separate. It's that separation that creates the harm. So when I'm feeling separate, I'm not living my best life. I need to go numb myself with alcohol or drugs or
Mm.
multiple sex partners or whatever it is. Realizing how amazing you truly are is the secret. Um, it's not coming from a place of ego. It's coming from a truth that you are the same energy as the children. You were once that child. And now it's time to hold that child. It's time to hug that child. It's time to accept that child. It's time to say, all of those that made me feel less than, you just have to do it this way. They did the best they could with what they had, with what they had at the time. Just
Mhm.
so that you can move on and move past it. Otherwise, it's you're gonna spend the rest of your life going, I don't understand why and what did I ever do wrong? All I did is help everybody and da, 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 da. Don't do that because it just it's a downward spiral. You want to
Mhm.
learn how to live from your own chest, and when you see people who are harmful to yourself or others in secret, just go into your heart and you shoot them with hearts because that's what they need. People who harm others, it's because they have their own inner fears, their own inner vulnerability that they never want you to see. And so they mask it with anger, with projecting their shortcomings onto other people. And whoever is the softest spoken usually tends to get it, or who are the most sensitive, the empathic ones. And that's why empaths are labeled as black sheep because they're so grossly misunderstood and are very sensitive to the needs of others. And so we want to, jump out in front of the moving car to save somebody, and you're both going to get run over. We can't be a martyr. We don't want to be a martyr. We want to learn that we are this beautiful energy that is worthy and capable of giving and receiving love. There's no harm in
Right.
that. Don't let anybody say that's selfish. Don't listen to them. Don't let them in your head.
Right, right. And I know that you've also said that you attract what you are, and all relationships are a reflection back. So, can you
Big time.
explain more
Oh
about
yeah.
that?
One of my I kind of feel like I say this about everything, but it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. And so the easiest way to paint that picture is, let's say there is a horror channel on TV. There's a channel for everything. So let's say there's a horror channel. They only play horror movies. Well, that's going to be your mainstream news. So, whatever you're tuned into, that is what is speaking to your nervous system and it is conditioning your nervous system. And so, you are now wired to look for that. So, when you wake up in the morning, you are framing your day. If you're like, oh crap, what's going to happen to me today? You're going to get stuff that makes you say, oh crap. But if you wake up and you're like, oh, I wonder what I can bring to this day, you are taking the reins to frame in that day and you actually look for the good stuff, you're going to see the good stuff. Truly, what you seek, you will find. And it's the same as if when you get a new car and you notice everybody that has the same car. It's the same kind of concept. When you continue relationships of all kinds, this means your boss, your coworkers, your children, your lovers, partnership, when those relationships keep on having a common theme that is not serving you, what is the one common denominator? So we have to have personal accountability. It cannot be the whole rest of the world. If you keep getting fired from a job, it can't keep on being everybody else. If you keep on going with people that abuse you or want to control you or are narcissistic, what are you sending off? Think about, if there's a wounded animal, all the vultures are going to come swooping in. It's the same with sensitive people and narcissistic, sociopathic people. So, what is the scent that you are emitting? If it's fear, then you're going to attract they want to consume you. And if it is love, you're going to attract other people that are on that bandwidth. When you want to look at your own patterns, you want to look at all of your relationships, because you cannot separate and compartmentalize your life. I used to work at the IRS. Not fun, not creative, horrible place to work. But I thought it was my dream job because it was an IT job and I wanted to help people. So it was like a help desk job, but they didn't want me to help them because they didn't want to work because they were micromanaged. So when I came to fix their problem, they were like, and it was counterintuitive for me. Um, so what would happen is Sunday night, I'd start getting angry and anxious because I know that Monday I have to face those nasty people, those mean people. So that means Sunday, my family has to witness my anxiety. And then that, of course, is going to ripple on them. Think about, if you're around a happy person, how do they make you feel? And think about, if you're around an angry person, how do they make you feel? And think about, if you're around a sad person, somebody who's just gone through a tragedy, how does that make you feel? All right. So each one of those just did something to your nervous system, each one. This helps you to understand your own boundaries. It's healthy to be able to observe, but you don't want to absorb. Observe, but don't absorb. Hold space for somebody, but don't go down in there with them. And you know this as a therapist. You cannot go down there and start losing it because your client is losing it. You can't do that. You've got to maintain your energetic integrity so that you can hold space and see them through whatever the thing is that they're going through.
Yeah, I can't imagine if I went to those same places as my clients often are at repeatedly, I would be just a hot mess by the end of the day if I absorbed rather than observing. You know, it would just be it would not be a sustainable job. And I also know that you said that you can't be in a state of love, no matter how much you want to be in a state of love. You can't be in a state of love and fear at the same time. Is that correct?
It's not possible. It's not possible. What I find, okay, I do use the word fascinating because I like to be fascinated by things. So there's a map of consciousness, and the lowest frequency you can feel are shame, guilt, anger, apathy. So if you are in there, and we do fluctuate, like we can be wronged and we're going to get angry.
Right.
But I feel there's so much powerful, if you understand that anger is masked helplessness. To me, that is so powerful. And it's true. Like, I've never seen an incident where that was not true. So when you get agitated, look at yourself and say, why did that make me angry? And it helps you to understand yourself on a deeper level. I love that. And I love what we have a comment here, at 5 years alone and finally at peace. Lonely, but not lonely, but okay alone. Learning to value me. This is awesome. So that's exactly what I went through too. It was my weak point. I would call and I'd take them back, and then the next time would be worse and worse and worse. So when you can learn how to be alone and not be lonely, you beat it. You beat the devil at their own game, which means I'm good. And then you start going into the things that you love to do, some kind of creative anything at all, self exploration. Totally lost my train of thought on that now. Um, there's so many
Yes,
wonderful things to talk about.
I was going to reference that comment as well, you know, and so our comment here is talking about learning to value herself, you know, being comfortable, happy in her skin, happy in her place, and uh, then this is my sister, and I know her story. Like once she got to that place where she was comfortable in her own skin, happy in her own space, able to be like okay with being alone, doing things that were fulfilling for her, well then look what happened. She attracted a relationship that's a true love relationship, and she's happy with somebody now, you know, that, but she had to come to that place. I hope it's okay that I'm talking about you. She had to come to this place where she was fulfilling her own self and loving her own self in that way before what you know, before she was able to attract that, and now she has.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's how it works. And so that is what law of attraction alludes to. You attract what you are, like versus like. If you keep on entering into relationships that are not reciprocal and fulfilling and supportive, then you've got to learn to just take a step back and go within, because it is not everybody else. Raising your frequency out of those lower shame, love, guilt, fear, and apathy. If you can get yourself to at least neutrality, that means you walk outside and somebody was like, "Oh, you're stupid." Well, when we're really sensitive, we automatically want to kind of defend ourselves. No, I'm not, or you are. Okay, we don't want to do that anymore. Instead, we observe, and we, in our head, we
Mhm.
understand hurt people hurt people. A healthy and balanced person would never behave in such a way. For this, I forgive them, and I hope that they find their way. All of this is on the inside, because if you react, it's like reacting to a bully. You're just going to feed it, and you're going to entangle with their energy. Now you're theirs. They're going to eat you for lunch.
Mhm.
So we don't want that. If you can get yourself to a place of neutrality, then that is the process you go through, and you don't give it any power whatsoever. What garden are you going to feed? What animal are you going to feed? Are you going to feed into the fear garden? Everyone's out to get me, and I don't trust anybody. Uh, everyone, well, just that. Or if you're in the love garden, I'm learning new ways to love myself every day, and in doing so, I give other people permission to be who they are too. That's very powerful as well, which means even though I might not agree with what I'm seeing these people do, that's who they are. That's where they're at. It's not for me, and that's okay. It again, real simple, but it doesn't come as easily as that, especially when these people are in your
Mhm.
family. That's
Mhm.
always the hardest, and that's why we get born into families that have a lot of what's that word, dysfunction.
Mhm.
It's for you to
Right.
figure your stuff out and grow through it. Grow through it. It doesn't mean you. Now, people stick at varying degrees of that self blame or blaming their circumstance and then taking it to their grave. Well, this happened to me, and they're drowning in their own misery and not choosing to do anything about it. There's no growth in that. There's no growth. There must be growth at all times, or you start shutting down. Apathy, not apathy, atrophy sets in. You
Mhm.
have to stay flowing in motion all of the time,
Right.
learning
I
how to
love that.
forgive,
I
learning how
love
to
what you
love
say
who
about
you are.
I love what you say about neutrality, reaching a place of neutrality. It's actually time to take a commercial break. When we come back, I'd love to start there again, like really achieving that place of neutrality. I think is so important, and I love the example that you gave. You know, if somebody comes at you with something that is meant to be hurtful, really, really focusing on that hurt people, that's about them, not about me, I'm gonna, send love their way because that's what they're needing. Again, internal process. Because if you actually speak these things, you're engaging, and you don't want to engage. But I love that place of neutrality. And I also want to talk, when we come back from a commercial break, as we do this growth, I want to talk about how, it's possible to outgrow certain relationships we have, and how all of that works as we become healthy. What dynamics can happen. So all of that to come when we come back. We're going to take a brief commercial break. You're watching Talks with Tracy on Bold Brave Television Network. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to Talks with Tracy, coming to you live on the Bold Brave Television Network. I have the honor and privilege of being here with the amazing Suzy Woo. Once again, I'm so thankful to have her do these appearances with me on the show. I was just talking to her during the break about how easy it is to really get to these really important issues through a discussion, and I'm really thankful for you, Suzy. So we're talking about, getting to this place of neutrality where we can be at peace with ourselves, even if we have people coming at us, understanding that hurtful things coming from other people really are coming from their own hurt, and having compassion for them without being their doormat. I know you didn't say that specifically, but that's what I was hearing. We can have compassion for other people in their own hurt and in their own hurtful behaviors without being their doormat. We have agency, and we can make our own choices about how much we want to interact with a person who's going to be hurtful, and we can do that within relationship as well. We can have good boundaries and kind of, like, love ourselves to the point where we release the fear of losing a loved person, a loved partner. We can love ourselves more than being fearful. Because a lot of times when I've seen a lot of people, and I used to be this person myself, I'm not anymore, where I'd be so afraid of being alone or so afraid of not having that person, that I would just live in a really ugly state that wasn't sustainable. And I know now that I can be like, this is what I expect in a relationship, and this is what I'll accept, what I won't accept, and I love myself enough more now than ever, and I won't compromise my own my own self for other people. And that's not being selfish, that's not being arrogant, that's not anything. That is being like, you know, I love myself and I expect a certain uh, degree of respect. And that's not that there's not, bumps in the relationship I have now. Sure, like all we're growing together. All relationships have moments, but you commit to working through those moments. And if it's something that is so egregious that it's unacceptable, then you say, "Oh, nope, sorry," you know, no can do.
You
So
got
I,
it.
I
But
really
it's
like,
taken you
yeah.
some work to get to that, though. So it's like you have
Oh,
to kind
tons
of
of
like
work.
kiss a lot of frogs to, get yourself to that level of honesty and integrity.
Mhm.
And as
Mhm.
you learn about that self respect and your expectations, how you treat yourself is demonstrating how the rest of the world should treat you. So you're always playing follow my lead. That's why you never want to do, oh, I'm so stupid, even under your breath, because your cells have intelligence and certain aspects will start to go into depression. And then all of you will enter into a state of depression. And then you're going to attract other depressed people. You're going to attract angry people. You're going to attract sociopaths and narcissists because they just want to feast on your weakness the way that somebody else would see that. When you're filled with love and joy and gratitude and appreciation. Now, I do have to say, everything is not rainbows and unicorns. Um,
Mhm.
I live in the bandwidth that is joy, happy. I mean, I do walk my talk, but it's doesn't mean things don't happen in my life that wreak havoc or really disturb the apple cart or the flow of my life. There are, because you have to have relationships with other people and you
Mhm.
can't control other people, but you can control your reaction. You can't control what happened, but you can control what happens next. So these are the personal accountabilities that you owe it to yourself to take your own reins and you steer your own horse. You steer the rudder of your ship or your life direction. I love what you said. What you were saying, Tracy, is about healthy boundaries. What I'm willing
Mhm.
to tolerate and what I'm not willing to compromise. And if
Mhm.
something oversteps that boundary so grandly that, like if somebody cheats on you, that is a betrayal. But
Mhm.
those of us that have an abandonment wound or who are really empathic are very quick to forgive. Why? Because we see the good in them. Well, the
Mhm.
thing is, when you're in a relationship, you have to accept the whole package. So you can't say, well, I really love 75%, but this 25% that has a wandering eye. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to accept the whole kit and caboodle when you're entering into a relationship. So if there's a 25% that they've cheated on you, that's a betrayal. It might engage an abandonment wound or a betrayal wound or something else. But now, what are you going to do about it? And some of us have become so comfortable that we become complacent and we accept things that we would never have accepted before. But just like I'll go extreme, like in my abusive marriage, um, I learned how to tolerate and deal and cope. Doesn't mean it's okay. Doesn't mean it's healthy. It practically got me
Mhm.
dead and buried. So there has to be healthy boundaries for yourself to hold space for your personal integrity and growth. And then as people come and go into your life, you're going to see, where do they fit in? Where do they fit in? Do they cross my boundary? And if so, then if it's knowing and if you said don't do this and they do this, then they've demonstrated that they're not respecting you. And you have to decide what you're going to do about it. And if whatever you accept, whatever you allow will grow. So don't think it's going to change or get better. If somebody's overstepped your boundary a little bit, the next one's going to be bigger, the next one's going to be bigger. And now you're buried in the sea of whatever it is, lies, betrayal, whatever. Um, Now, everybody, we're going to walk into the soulmate category now, because that
Mm.
is a big question. Where's my soulmate? I'm looking. Okay, so there is such a thing, but my understanding is it is congruency. And so there are people who vibrate on the same wavelength as us, people that we meet, that we feel like, you feel like my best friend. I feel like I've known you. Well, these are people from your past life. They are people in your soul group, but it doesn't always mean it's good.
Mhm.
So many times we know there, we just know it, and you'll be presented, or well, I get, as a therapist, I'll get presented with a couple, and oh, we met, we fell hard and madly in love, and it's this horrible power struggle, these
Oh.
battles, and they break up and make up and break up and make up, and they hate each other and they love each other, and it's like that. I barely see any movies, but years ago it was a Battle of the Roses, I think, with Danny DeVito. Um, War of the Roses. And so it's like this horrible love hate thing. It's tumultuous. But if I look at the two in this, in an example like that, I can look at the astrological charts of each of the parties, and
Mm.
I'll see, well, this person is from your past life, which means they don't belong in your present life. So somebody from
Mm.
your past life has come to settle the bill or settle something. And so they're actually causing you great harm. And this is for you to set a healthy boundary and say, okay, this is as far as that's going, and I'm going to leave you right there. That's why we have things like this. So there's very
Mm.
powerful, very, very powerful magnetic draws between parties. But just because you experience that doesn't mean they are your forever person. You have to navigate this, and
Mm.
kind of in baby steps. Like, falling in love deep and hard is very, that's why they say love is blind. But will it withstand the test of time? I'm just going to move for just a second. There is that thing they call the 7-year itch. That has to do with Saturn, the planet Saturn. It
Mm.
takes Saturn 28 years to go around the sun. In your chart, it's as if you are the sun in the center of your chart. So when Saturn creates 7 years later, it's going to create a 90-degree angle, which is tension. So in a relationship, every relationship has a chart. So 7 years from when your relationship began is going to be tension. Test me. I don't mind, because it's always right, because astrology never lies. So at the 7-year point of a relationship, you will be tested. There's going to be strife. There's going to be struggles. There's going to be challenges that require maturity on both parties level,
Mm.
both parties. So there has to be, and if you have the maturity to work through those problems, then you will most likely make it. But a lot of couples will not make it past that 7 years, because this is where you see what you're made of. Are you strong enough to get through this as a unit? Or does one of you crumble? Or does one of you go the other way? And even in an individual life, when we are about 28 years old, is the first time Saturn has gone all the way around our personal sun. And that is when, if you can remember, when you're 28, 29 years old, all your friends are getting married, buying houses, having careers, starting families. And if that wasn't you, it's kind of like the universe is shaking you by the collar saying, is this what you want for yourself? What are you going to do about it? Now, all of us were not cut out to have 2.5 children, go to college, retire, and die. Like, that was a fallacy that was indoctrinated. Um, Really, the goal of your life is to grow and to find what brings you joy, so that God can witness itself in resolution. Like, that's why you were created. Oh, I remembered. I love to paint with oil paint and do portraits. And you do it, and you attract the people who want their portrait painted or their loved ones painted, and now you've lit everyone up. So it's, what is that magic inside of you? And when you align to it, your job is to bring it forth. Your job is to share your talents. even if you're introverted, many people need to work behind the scenes, but you're still participating. You're still an entity. And for you to realize your life, realize your self-worth, realize you are incredible, you are perfect as you are, and you don't want to buy yourself time by saying, you don't want to stall like I did in my marriage. Oh, well, I'm going to wait for the kids to graduate before I make a move, or I'm going to wait for this job to happen, or wait for this, or whatever. Don't do that.
Mhm.
I mean, I did
Or
it.
waiting
We all
for waiting for love, right?
waiting for
You
an
know,
opportunity that things are going to get better, or that,
yeah, yeah.
this will happen, or, you know, waiting for, really, it's unrealistic. It's being unrealistic. And what that is further acceptance of self-harm. If a relationship is not for you, pardon me, you don't want to stick in it, because you know what? It's a disservice not only to you, but to the person, because you should release them so they can find their next match, and you need to heal. You need to process, like, why did this not work? And I really am against self-blame, because there is no right or wrong. You make the choices you make because that's where you're at that moment. And then when it doesn't pan out, you have to have the gumption to admit it's not panning out. You cannot fix anybody. That was what my ex used to say. Oh, yeah, you fix me. I need you to fix. No, no. Because what that is doing is taking all accountability for my bad behavior and putting it on you, because I need you to fix me. Okay? You cannot
Mm,
fix anybody. You owe it to
right.
yourself to stay in love inside, and you don't give. Okay? You don't give your energy away. You share your energy. Another powerful
Mm,
statement there. We don't want to give our energy away. I love my little candle reference. So you can have a candle, and you could light 100 million other candles, and you still have your light, but now you've lit up a whole country or something like that. And you still have yours. But if you are like, oh, here's my candle, now you got no light. And somebody else is like, yeah, I stole their flame. It's not fair. It's not right. But you control that. So how yes are you? How much of a yes person are you? We don't want to be a doormat. We want, how do we know if we even have a healthy relationship?
oh, that's a good
Is it
question.
reciprocal? Is it reciprocal? Do I feel safe? That's really the biggest one,
Mm,
that for some reason we don't even look at that. Do I feel safe with this person? Or is it because they're just anchoring some unresolved emotions and they're there? So many people stay in a relationship because it's convenient, or because they're afraid of being alone. Loneliness is so big, but we already talked about that. You really want to learn how to be by yourself without feeling lonely. Learn how to become your
right.
own best friend, so
I
that you
want
can
to just
attract a
add,
mirror that will be harmonious for you.
I just want to add to what you were saying about reasons people stay in a relationship. One of the very common ones is, I don't want to destroy my family.
Mm,
It's hard when you're in a relationship and you have children and you're looking at leaving a relationship. There's so much, first off, you get so much kind of um, people's opinions, so much judgment comes in
yeah,
when you're really looking to stand up for yourself. But when you are staying in a relationship, because you have children, don't want to destroy the family, I think we really need to look at what are we doing for our children? What are we doing for in this family system? What are we demonstrating? What are we modeling? What are we showing love has to offer us? What are we
so
showing?
glad
What
you
are we
brought that up.
demonstrating? Yes. What are we demonstrating that relationships are?
Yeah, because if you have, so in that example, you're modeling not what love is. And so
Right.
in my case, I took it and withstood it, and for whatever reasons are now a moot point. What happened happened. But what that modeling is that I am showing that I have no power in my life. I have bled dry to take care of everybody else and let myself get into a point of exhaustion and helplessness, victimhood. So that means my children will either become an abuser or the abused. The best thing you can do, excuse me, is allow for your children to see you heal, and that gives them permission to also heal. It's to not cover up, it's to be able to have open discussions. And it means I didn't love myself. And so I accepted anything because something was better than nothing. And being able to have those open discussions. And then as you learn and you go to therapy and you get the help that you need, hopefully, you rebuild your character and you realign your morals and you realign your values, and then you abide by those. And so, because you have energy cords to your family and strong ones to your children, as you get your colors back, they are witnessing your recovery from an imbalanced relationship. And it also is going to help, like, understand conflict resolution, which is never taught. We don't know how. We need to learn how to discuss emotions and not just choke them down. And some people are sensitive. Some people cry a lot. Some people, they get mad and they cry. Who are you to make fun of them? That's who they are. Accept them for who they are. But anger is a natural state, is not natural. So somebody who's moved to tears, oh, that they're very sensitive. Those are water signs. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces are moved to tears very easily. Where if one of those has an Aries energy woven into it, they're going to be so mad that they cry. So we have these characteristics, and it's who we are. And really, it's all about accepting people as they are and not trying to change them, which now circles back to, how do I know if my relationship is healthy? If somebody is always kind of nitpicking, why do you make that expression? That reminds me of your mother, and I don't like your mother. Okay, that's not healthy. um, oh my God, I was just reminded in my marriage, I remember when my ex said, after a very bad situation, argument, abuse, he said, "You look pretty when you cry."
Ooh,
Is that not creepy?
wow.
So that's clearly a problem. I forgot all about that till just now. Uh, Somebody who looks forward to seeing you every day and is not trying to say, "I need you to be quiet." Now, some people need to talk. Other people don't want to talk. This is all revealed in an astrology chart. You have
Mm,
a lot of things going on in your chart. It's your recipe card of your behaviors, your traits, your tendencies, and your relationship style. Um, and they're not always compatible. You can't only look at your sun sign, which is the one that everybody knows. It's way beyond that. Some people never stop talking. You need to be with people who like to talk. So if somebody is like, "Da, da, 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 da," and the other one is not, eventually they're going to be like, "Shut up." And it's not going to go over well because you're going to devastate this other person.
oh,
For some people, the worst form of abuse is the silent treatment. For other people, they just want to sit there and hold your hand for an hour and not say a word, but they've had a whole discussion. So there's got to be some reciprocity. You have to have a similar communication style and healthy boundaries, have an understanding of what the needs are of one another. And what are your boundaries? Like, what's acceptable? That's through your own behavior and how you treat yourself. How I treat me
yes,
is
which
showing you how I like to be treated.
right, which gets all the way back around to loving ourselves, honoring
Exactly.
ourselves. So what you're talking about now are compatibility readings that you give, where you take people's
Hmm.
astrological charts and you kind of place them on top of each other and um, see what's happening. Can you? We just have one more minute left. Can you tell us how people would get a hold of you for a compatibility reading or anything else? Just the astrological chart reading is just incredible. Can you tell us how to get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Simple as my website. My website is suzy-woo.com. It's suzy-woo.com. And you could view all of my offerings there. The compatibility or your personal astrology profile, again, will give you the behaviors, the tendencies, and then we could also look at timing. So if somebody wants to know when my person is coming, I can look at that and give you insight on that too, because it's in your chart. There's certain windows that say these golden windows of opportunity. And then when my intuition shows up too, I usually will get the scene of where you're going to meet, the timing. Is it going to work right out of the gate, or is it going to take a little work? And it's wonderful to know that you can have this shared with you by booking a session.
Absolutely. So everybody out there, I highly recommend Suzy. I book sessions with her and I learn from her. I'm taking a class from you right now, Suzy. I'm just learning so much, and I appreciate you so much. So thank you for being here. Next week, I'm going to be doing a show there where I talk about, those words that we use in our minds and self-talk and all of those, the importance of really being mindful of our thinking and the information, the words that we use, and offering some suggestions for that. So that is next week. If you'd like to get a hold of me, I can be reached at tcholistichealing.com. Please hit me up for services or just to give me feedback on the show. I'd love that. So this has been Talks with Tracy on Bold Brave Television Network. I will see you next week.
This has been Talks with Tracy. Join us each week as Tracy and her guests will come together and realize that underneath it all, we are all the same and never alone. So join us each week and let Talks with Tracy be your safe place to land in your healing journey. Right here, Thursdays, 11 a.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.